News Talk Radio. 970 WDAY. Fargo Moorhead.
What time is that? Y'all got 10 seconds to get to the dance floor.
Hour number 3, Christopher Gabriel program begins right at this very moment. 8 minutes, 15 seconds past the hour of 1 p.m. Central Daylight Saving Time. Glad you're joining us on 970 WDAY and WDAY.com. Good afternoon to everybody hanging out in our online chat room. We like to call that the Gabby Lounge, sponsored by Noodles and Company. Glad that the crew is hanging out in there with us on our 3-hour tour today. We don't have a lot of writers of fiction on this program. We tend to err more on the side of people like Jeffrey Sachs, bringing him on for The Price of Civilization, and books like that. However, there are regular guests on this program, like Mitch Albom. We love his work, and we love the work of Nicholas Lamar Soutter as well. The Water Thief is a great book, and I am delighted to welcome him to the program. Nick, how the heck are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. How about yourself?
Very well. I must tell you a couple of things here. First of all, you're out in Massachusetts, are you not?
Yes, sir.
I should tell you that I'm born and raised in Chicago, lifelong Blackhawks fan.
Okay, okay.
But, you know, one of the things I on a more serious note, I say this to authors all the time. Do you prefer Nicholas or Nick?
Nick is perfect.
Okay. I say this to authors all the time. I learn a lot about where a book is going, be it fictional or nonfiction, in the very first paragraph. And it holds true, at least for me, 100% of the time, and we've had hundreds of authors on this program going back 4+ years. And in the first paragraph, and just allow me to read a couple of sentences, if I may, and then we'll just jump into this. First, there would be poker, then the executions. Right off the bat, that word just pulls us right in. It's perverse to dwell on the suffering of others, but on the first Monday of every month, I couldn't think about much else. On the days I bathed, I'd hold the soap in my hands and wonder if it were rendered from the fat of someone I had seen strung up, maybe even someone I knew. And that takes us into this world that you have created that I found myself at times, Nick, feeling like, boy, have I been down a similar road here, and I found myself drifting to Atlas Shrugged a little bit, and I don't know if that's accurate or not, but as a starting point, give folks a synopsis, and then we'll break this down a little bit, of The Water Thief.
Well, it's a near-future dystopia set in a world where corporations have used their wealth to leverage government out of existence. Everything is privatized: water, air. Your own futures can be bought and sold, just like we sell pork futures and other futures today. And everything from the air you breathe to your own kidneys is privatized.
And indeed, and what you've created here, to go a bit further, is and correct me if I've interpreted this wrong as I read the book. But and what we like to do, Nick, with fictional books, is I don't want to give away too much. I want to work around this and kind of get into it to Ray Bradbury comes to mind, reading this. But you created this world where large business, big business, empowered by deregulation. Yes. And the villain here, really, isn't a person per se, is it?
No, I think the villain is corporate life and corporations taking over your life, and in some ways, in the way 1984 may have talked about socialism being the villain, I think in this book, one of the things I want to show is that you can do the exact same thing with capitalism. And
citizens, you touched on this a moment ago. There's really no standing in society. Essentially, we, meaning I'm going to put a collective we in your book, citizens held captive by corporations. It in many ways. For me, Nick, it harkened back to the days of in England and say the 13th, 14th, 15th centuries where you had the class structure and you had serfs and so on. But in many ways, it really, to certain degrees, and those we'll have different ideas about which degrees, but this is paralleling where we're at today.
Well, I think that's a really interesting observation. If you take a look at the Citizens United decision, which said that corporations, and to be fair, unions, could put as much money as they wanted to behind political candidates, you start to wonder, can you be elected in this country without owing something to a very big corporation? And if you can't, then corporations really are dictating our politics far more than people are. And I think after Citizens United, and if you look at our politics, we are not nearly as far away from where this book would have us. Then I certainly am uncomfortable by it.
Yeah, but it's interesting. That's a great example. We've discussed on multiple segments on multiple days Citizens United, and at least my perspective, my producer Jill, is that it's one of the worst decisions that the Supreme Court's ever handed down. In many ways, and folks, I'm visiting with Nicholas Soutter. He is. Am I pronouncing your last name correctly?
Yes, you are.
Oh, great. He is the author of just a compelling book that I strongly suggest reading. It's called The Water Thief. In many ways, Nick, reading your story, it's a little bit like looking at ourselves or a version of ourselves. And I found myself wondering throughout the book, is this where we're at or is it where we're going? Have we already arrived there?
Well, I think there's sort of a little bit of both. Even fiction is kind of worthless if it doesn't talk to where you are right now, and I'd like to hope that it also makes a projection out to where we're going, but there's a lot of both. Again, Citizens United, politicians already give massive tax breaks to companies, the oil companies getting a lot of tax breaks, and I like to think it's a lot of both, where we are now, where we're headed. If we don't start to engage in the process and see what's happening, I'm all for corporations making money. I'm all for people making money, but there has to be a middle ground.
I thought, and I don't know that you had this in mind, and I suspect that you probably didn't, and you can tell us here, yay or nay, but the public executions. We have talked on this program, and I think a lot of people, it's not a newsflash, a lot of people around the country have talked about our society's utter infatuation with reality television, and it doesn't seem to be slowing down. And what I've discussed many times, Nick, is really, how long is it going to be before we have a cable channel or a pay-per-view event that there's going to be an execution? And you're going to see that such and such, the Jones execution, in Utah, sponsored by, Procter & Gamble's such and such. And you talk about that in here, and I'm wondering, were you making a comment on kind of where we're at with reality TV? Were you making a comment on what infatuates us or what interests us as a society, or is it something different?
I don't see how that's unavoidable. I don't see how that's where we're going to end up at some point. It takes more and more to shock us. It takes more and more to get us interested. And the thing about reality TV that we like is, you look at a car accident, you slow down really because you want to see him and say to yourself, wow, no matter how bad my life is, at least I'm not that guy. And I think that's what we like about reality television. It makes us feel better about ourselves, but as we get sort of sensitized, or I should say desensitized to what we're seeing, we want to see more, and why not death sports? I can't see anything stopping it in the direction we're headed.
Yeah, no question about it. Visiting with Nicholas Soutter. He is the author of just a terrific book, The Water Thief. And The Water Thief paints a picture that you might not want to necessarily acknowledge, but you really need to look no further than cable news or newspapers or a lot of talk radio and say, wait a minute, I think we might be living through some of this right now. You create Charles Thatcher, and he is this private citizen, and he could be anybody. But did you view him as? I mean, is this also Nicholas Soutter as Charles Thatcher?
Oh, that's a good question. I suppose when you're writing fiction, you are some of every character in the book, and when I say that, people look at the psychopath Linus Cabal, and they look at me quite differently when they realize I wrote him too. I think Thatcher is, I hope, he's anybody who's reading this book trying to figure out where we are today and where we'd like to be. And that's his struggle. And
I was fascinated also. There was a story. I want to say it was a school district in San Antonio, somewhere in Texas, and there may be more, that were starting to have little computer chips as a way to monitor where the students were going while they were on and maybe you've heard this story. Monitor where they're going when they are on school grounds, so that they know if somebody's not in class, they're able to monitor and so on. And there's a lot of folks that like that, and there's a whole bunch other out there that don't like that. And you've included in the book, and you didn't miss anything, these badges. For corporations essentially to track a person's every movement, if somebody's looking to smoke a cigarette and so on, and you've got to keep these licenses up to date. Can you elaborate on that? And that looks in many ways like another direction that we're on the way to, and in some cases have gotten there already.
Well, hopefully not to bore people, but John Stuart Mill famously wrote the harm principle, which said that everything should be legal unless it harms somebody else. But nowadays, with litigation, with corporations, we take harm to mean anything that even offends people, that affects anybody in any negative way. And this has taken it just one step further and said, well, if you want to smoke a cigarette, you have to compensate people for the air that you're polluting. You have to compensate the person next to you. If you want to walk down the street, you have to pay individually for the utilities that you're using. And so everybody's entire life becomes accountable because we're all so interconnected anyway. And that's what the concept of the badge or the ledger is about, is that you cannot interact with other people without doing what somebody somewhere is going to cause harm, and the badge is simply a means of trying to reconcile that. Do you think as a society, Nick, that we're on the road to maybe it isn't where we have to buy air or have some sort of land rights to the air over where we live or to the water? We pay for water as it is, but do you think we're heading in that direction? Oh, absolutely. The chairman of Nestle just came out and said one of the reasons that water we're so scarce of water nowadays is because people don't pay for it and they abuse it. And cap and trade is roughly the same idea, selling clean air. And I think that it's not an argument with which I have no sympathy, but the argument is if you privatize precious resources like air and water, then people won't spend them and ruin them, and you need corporations to protect them. That's not a bad argument, but it's one I really think leads us to a very scary path. Can we keep you for a couple more minutes? We need to take a pause. Oh, no, I'm fine. That's fantastic. Folks, we're visiting with Nicholas Soutter. He is the author of The Water Thief, and this was the winner of the Kirkus Star. It's a terrific book, and as I said, I'm just by those of you who listen to this program on a regular basis know that when it comes to fiction, I don't want to start giving away plot lines or what have you. I want to leave that for you, and instead get the author, in this case Nick, and have him break down some of the themes of the book. He gave you a synopsis. It's a compelling book. Moving forward, when we return, I want to talk to him about Fahrenheit 451, Ray Bradbury, and how some of that, at least in my view, plays into this book. It's the Christopher Gabriel Program. Why aren't there more Christopher Gabriels who are so willing to have an open mind and recognize the humanity of people and separate extremists from those who are truly peace-loving?
This is the Christopher Gabriel Program. Let's face it, you're busy. Work, home, family. 970 WDAY has the news you need to keep you informed around the clock. 970 WDAY and WDAY.com.
I'm Randy Owen. Join me each week as I play 5 decades of great country music and tell stories about a lot of my friends and heroes. Folks like Conway Twitty, Charlie Pride, George Jones, Dolly Parton, and of course Merle Haggard. We may even play some Alabama. Join me, Randy Owen, for Country Gold.
Saturday mornings from 6 to 8 here on 970 WDAY.
Larry and Jim here covering Beth's morning commute.
Here she goes now, racing around to get the kids ready for daycare.
Sounds like she's got a mobile alert on her phone. She's making a quick pit stop to check it out.
And she's off again, and out the door? She's leaving with the kids earlier than usual. What's going on here?
Looks like she's approaching I-94. She'll be turning on at the on-ramp shortly.
Traffic is really slowing down here, Jim. Looks like construction has caused some congestion on I-94.
Wait, Larry, what is this? Beth is going over I-94?
Wow, that's a game changer.
She's avoiding I-94, the construction and the delays. How did she do it?
I bet she signed up for mobile updates from the North Dakota DOT. She's planning ahead and making extra time. And look, she's getting her kids to daycare on time.
Bye, Mom.
Mobile updates? Sounds like something everyone should have.
Stay updated on the latest Fargo area road construction projects from the North Dakota DOT. Sign up for mobile alerts. Text Fargo DOT to 66746 and get where you need to go safely and on time.
Got a slow computer and you need to get it fixed? If so, call Roberts PC Solutions to speed it up. With nearly 15 years of experience under their belts, Roberts PC Solutions knows how to do a good job. From computer repairs to spyware and their $75 virus removal special, Roberts PC Solutions can get your problems fixed. Call 356-2034 and ask for Brian, or head to their West Fargo location at 400 Cheyenne Street. RobertsPCSolutions.com, where broken PCs go to get healthy.
Summertime and the living is easy, especially right now during Aaron's summer vacation. Only at Aaron's Sales and Lease can you get top name brand furniture, electronics, appliances, or computers and not make a payment till August. Aaron's Sales and Lease gives you a low price guarantee, no credit needed, and the freedom to pay your way. Credit is hard, but summer vacation at Aaron's is easy with no payments till August. Aaron's Sales and Lease, just off 13th Avenue South at 34th Street, Fargo. One new lease per customer. Some restrictions apply.
The pioneer way of life comes alive at the 30th Annual Sodbuster Days in Fort Ransom State Park. Sojourn back to what life on the farm was like in the late 1800s with pioneer tractor and vehicle displays, wheelwright demonstrations, period style show, and much more. There will be a summer kitchen, activities for kids, live music and a parade, an old-fashioned roast beef dinner on Saturday, and breakfast Sunday morning. It's a real family show in Fort Ransom, North Dakota, July 13th and 14th. Get more information online at ransomcountynd.com.
Because sometimes you just need to vent. We can help. The best talk in the Valley. 970 WDAY and WDAY.com.
Christopher Gabriel returns.
We're talking with Nicholas Lamar Soutter. It's a great name. That your name. It sounds like you should be a sports franchise owner.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I got a kick before we get back to your book. I got a great kick out of what you wrote. In your thanks. Some people read obituaries. I like to read acknowledgments and thanks, and I just love, you said, first I'd like to thank my wife. If she had any brains at all, I mean any, and keep in mind she'll be reading this, she'd have headed for the hills when I told her I was a writer. That's a great woman right there.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I am truly lucky.
That is awesome. Again, Nicholas Soutter, he's my guest. He wrote the Water Thief. One of the first books that I read in school, believe it or not, and this is in the 60s, late 60s, was Fahrenheit 451. And I was always a big fan of Ray Bradbury. And I as I got older, Nick, I read the criticisms for and against of the book, and the criticisms back then were that how dare you write something like this that is just never going to happen. It's just ridiculous that anybody would do this. And now, a couple of years ago, we hear of a publishing company in Alabama coming up with a scrubbed edition of Huckleberry Finn, getting rid of all the, the references to the N-word and so on and so forth because it doesn't fit the culture that they, or the cultural upbringing that they want for the kids in the state of Alabama. And with your book, I could see the same criticisms being levied by somebody out there saying, well, you know what, why would somebody write something like this? Have you heard anything like that? Gotten any feedback like that at all?
I have, but just to get back to Fahrenheit real quick.
Yes.
You probably heard too that in Texas, where they make a lot of the nation's school books, they've been trying to change the books.
Yes.
And literally rewriting history.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very scary thing. So it is happening. I've gotten a lot on both sides. I've gotten the people have been really wonderful, and I think understand where I was going with it. But I've gotten a lot of people saying, look, this is really happening now, and if you can't see it, we're in trouble. And then I've had other people who say this is the most ludicrous thing, this would never happen. And I've gotten into a lot of arguments with objectivists who are people who follow Ayn Rand's philosophy, and they're always very polite and very generous and really interested in having a good discussion, but many of them say, really, this could never happen, and I see it happening today. That's why I wrote the book.
Well, the notion that this, and I think the reason I was so taken by the book, and as you've heard me recommend it to our audience, and will continue to recommend it, is because I can't, as somebody in my early 50s, mid 50s, I can't accept the notion that is projected forth by some when they read what you wrote and the things that you're talking about: greed, lies, corruption, selling off people, selling off individuals, how democracy essentially killed off by capitalism. I believe, if we could say that in your book. I mean, I think that the notion that this can't happen, we've seen too many things already, well, like Citizens United, that have happened and will continue to happen.
Well, if you can name for me a single politician who can get elected without owing something to Exxon Valdez or any of the other major corporations out there, I'd very much like to hear it. But and Exxon Valdez has actually been putting money into African dictatorships, or I should say South African dictatorships, for oil rights. And I had been listening to your program earlier, and you had an accident at a restaurant,
yes,
as I heard, and bumped your head. And somebody had commented that the customer always comes first. I really wish that were true.
Yeah.
But really, businesses, or the big businesses, exist for one reason and one reason only, and that's to make money. Satisfying the customer is a means to that end, but if you can get away with robbing the customer blind, as long as you don't get caught, if it's easier to do that, that's what they'll do. And they've got no problem trying to be good to their customers, but they've got no problem just trying to brush it under the rug if they can get away with it. It's whatever is the path of least resistance.
And that applies in so many different areas. I love when people make lateral moves. It's brilliant. It reminds me of Kevin McHale when he played in the Celtics, and came from the University of Minnesota, came from the Iron Range here, and not far from us. And he used to say, one of the greatest 2 or 3 power forwards, obviously, ever in the history of basketball. But he used to say, quite candidly and unabashedly, that he would push the rules of what he could get away with as far as he could go and go beyond that until somebody reeled him in. And really, that's what you're saying. That's what's happened in restaurants, and the way, and stores with customer service. And that's what happens in your book. And it goes beyond, anybody's imagination. I love this book, folks. The Water Thief, Nicholas Lamar Soutter. You can find it online. You can find it in bookstores. Really, I'm going to keep my eyes out for the next thing that you do, because I'd love to get you back on sometime. You're a terrific writer.
Oh, well, thank you very much. That's very generous of you, and I loved being on. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. But it's a great book, folks. Again, The Water Thief, Nicholas Lamar Soutter. It is well worth your time. It's a fast read, and it's an exciting read. From Nick Soutter and The Water Thief, let's go to the WDAY Radio Newsroom and visit with EJ Eric Johnson.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. This is a book that, if you like fiction, this is a great book.
Oh, it sounds like a cool book. I missed a good chunk of it, so I'll have to check out what you talked about.
Excellent.
All right, so let's figure out what's going on for news today. Sunny skies, 85 degrees. Wednesday.